Getting ready to make the eggless pumpkin pie. These are the ingredients that I'm going to use for those. I have some brown sugar, cornstarch, a pinch of salt, 1 pie pastry, milk, regular milk. I am using lactate milk for that, 2%. Lemon juice. The recipe calls for lemon extract, but I don't have any, so I use lemon juice, and it's worked out fine before. Canned pumpkin and some ground cinnamon. Okay, we've got our oven set to 450 degrees. We will turn that down once the pie has baked for a little bit. This is the recipe that I'm using that I got from cooks.com a couple years ago. It's really, if you can't eat eggs, if you don't have eggs, this is really a great substitution. It doesn't taste, I don't think it tastes any different than pumpkin pie that has eggs and sweetened condensed milk or evaporated milk in it. Okay, so let's get started. I've emptied the pumpkin into a big glass dish, a mixing bowl. I am adding 2 cups of milk. I've used lactate milk because that's what I use. To that, I am adding 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, to which I have added the pinch of salt to it. 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and a 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. Now we're just going to whisk this up really good. If you don't have a whisk, use a mixing spoon. That works fine too. It's really not that big of a deal. Okay, you're going to think that this mixture is too thin and too soupy, but that cornstarch takes care of it while it's baking. We've got it. We'll go ahead and add this to our prepared, and this is just a poor store-bought pastry shell. In the past, what I've done, I felt like there was too much to put into the pie shell, so I have a little oven-safe dish here that I put the rest in. And we're going to put that in a 450 oven for 10 minutes. And then lower it to 350 degrees for 1 hour. So I'm going to set my timer and put that in the oven. Okay, so that means that 10 minutes on 450. I'm going to stop my and turn it down, stop my oven and turn it back down to 350. They have the timer set for an hour now. And this is what it looks like so far. I may have to put some tin foil over the top so it won't get too, the crust won't get too burned. And that little bowl is gonna bake a whole lot faster than the pie is. I failed to mention that I put cooking spray in the bowl before I added that, the rest of that pumpkin pie mix to that. Also, if you wanted to, instead of cinnamon, if you wanted to add pumpkin pie spice to it, I'm sure that would be delicious as well. This turns out to be a really delicious tasting pumpkin pie. We'll come back in an hour. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. I put a piece of foil over it to make sure that it didn't get too brown. Well, it stuck a little. That wasn't such a good idea. Usually, in the past it hasn't, but I've usually done it further on in the cooking process. Let me just check and see if it's done in the middle. And I think I need to put it back in for a little bit. Usually it comes out like a regular custard pumpkin pie does. With it leaves it doesn't leave any residue on the knife. So I'm going to put it back in for 5, maybe 10 minutes and see what happens. Okay, after 5 minutes extra in the oven, I pulled it out and tested it. And the first 2 times came out completely clean. And I think that the carry-over cooking will be just fine on that. And we'll have a delicious pumpkin pie.